And let me say this now up front, Eric, that I really appreciate you doing this. This is very helpful to us.
Willie, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, ditto.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us on the first of our regular monthly calls. We're going to have these. Thank you. Later in the call, we're going to be joined by Anthony Agnetta, who's a respiratory therapist with Fisher & Paykel. They're the company that makes some of the masks that we use, like the Polero and the Simplus and the Opus and the Zest. So we've asked Anthony to join us in a little bit to talk about some of the new masks, why they're good, why they're better, you know, how to properly fit them, etc. And the goal is, over the next few months, to have the same kind of thing for ResMed and Respironics and any other company that we think is of value and interest to everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll also have on the phone two of National Sleep Therapy's really super respiratory therapists. One is Liz St. John and the other is Jody O'Farrell, who hopefully many of you already know, because if you call in with a clinical question, most likely either Jody or Liz would have helped you out. So hopefully they'll be familiar voices to you. Okay, so what are these calls intended for? And here's the agenda for this call. I'm going to give you an update on some of the things that you asked about. We will then go into answering your specific questions. Jody and Liz will help from a clinical point of view. And then we'll have Anthony talk about masks. So if we go through some of the sort of non-clinical questions you asked, we'll go through those first. And our goal for these calls is to give everyone a chance to stay up to date on CPAP products, trends, and general health issues, and meet each other. In the beginning of this call, there were two people talking about where do you live and what do you do, and that's part of this. Okay, we want to feel that there's a personal connection, and that if there's a topic that comes up and you have a special tip. Last week was cleaning. Someone had a great tip for not using Ivory soap but using something else that I put in our follow-up newsletter. We want to hear those things from you, so we want this to be interactive. It's your chance to interact with sleep professionals and users from home. So this is a group meeting. It's just we could all do it from our own home, which is very convenient. What National Sleep Therapy wanted to do was create this environment where everyone could learn and share in the most convenient way. So we hope this format works for everyone. So as we go forward, please keep in mind that we received lots and lots of questions for tonight, something just shy of 100 different questions. And, of course, we can't go through the 100 questions, but many of them are similar, so we'll try to answer them in a way that covers as many as possible. But again, if you have a specific issue, and many of the questions we got were specific, I encourage you to please, please, please contact us. Don't have these nagging questions that are hindering your therapy afraid to reach out. By all means, reach out, call us, email us, smoke signals, whatever, however you want to reach us, reach out. Okay, don't suffer in silence. So again, we're going to be holding these calls every month on the first Wednesday of every month from 7 to 8 p.m. Okay? The call-in number that you dial, the 800-204-6655 with that code, is going to be the same every single time. It doesn't need to be just National Sleep Therapy patients. We want anyone using CPAP, anyone who has questions about sleep, anyone can join this call. So if you have friends or family or you're in your doctor's office, tell them about these calls. We're happy to help. We're happy to, support everyone being better educated. Okay?
Will the number to sign in with the same number each month?
Yes, everything's going to be the same. The same 800 number, the same access code.
Okay.
The same everything. Yep. If you use Facebook.
I'm going to write those numbers in a box so everybody will have them handy each month.
Yes, I should put that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you use Facebook or Twitter or however you communicate it, tell your friends, tell everyone. We're happy to have them on these calls. Okay? So we should be able to have as many as want to join in. So there are a few topics that I want to cover that were brought up. One is new treatments, recent findings related to CPAP. A few people had some insurance questions. People asked a little bit about supplies, and then there were a lot of questions about masks and humidification and congestion and using it with a cold. So we're going to get to all those questions. Under the new product category, one of the things that we saw recently was a Wall Street Journal article where there's a new surgical implanted device being developed. It's interesting. There are many different surgical treatments that are already approved and used, and Jody O'Farrell, our respiratory therapist, helped point me to a really great resource. There was someone who wrote in, what are the surgical alternatives? And on the sleepapnea.org website, there is a good synopsis of all the different treatments for sleep apnea. From CPAP to oral appliances to surgery to weight loss to nutrition to everything you can think of, it's on that website. I'll say it again if you're interested in writing it down. I'll also put the link out in the follow-up notes. So after this call, we'll type up some notes and we'll send everyone who's registered or wants the notes, we'll push those notes out. But it's sleepapnea.org, and there's a little tab that says Treat. And then under Treat, as in treatment, there's another sub-tab called Treatment Options that lists all the different procedures. Yes. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that people asked about was looking at your own sleep data. Do people on the phone, is everyone yet up to speed on Sleep Mapper and how you can use Sleep Mapper to look at your own data?
Oh. No.
Oh. No, I'm not.
Ever heard of it?
I haven't heard
of it.
Okay,
I did
see?
try it. And when I put my card into the computer, it only pulls up the night before. So if we get a prescription, is it only will it pull information from, say, I've been on this for years, or will it only pull up the most recent information forward?
Okay, excellent question. Let me describe what Sleep Mapper is, and then I will answer that question specifically. And I want to spend a little time on this because Sleep Mapper is a fantastic tool and will become more important with the insurance changes that we're seeing in the industry. So Sleep Mapper is a tool created by Respironics for their Respironics CPAP and BiPAP machines. So if you have a Respironics machine, this Sleep Mapper discussion is very relevant.
Okay.
So here's what Sleep Mapper does. If you were to go to sleepmapper.com, it brings you to a website. And what this website lets you do is take the SD card from your Respironics machine, plug it into your computer, and it lets you see your sleep data just like we would see it if you had a modem or we downloaded your SD card for you. Not only does it let you see your own data, but it uploads it to the main database where we can see it and your doctor's office can see it. So it's almost like you become, if callers on the phone ever had a modem on their machine, it's almost like you become the modem. So it's a way for you to see your own data and for us to see your data. Now, there's a few requirements for Sleep Mapper. One is we need to make sure we have your email address in our system for your data to get to us. So the way it works is you could email us and say, National Sleep Therapy, please make sure my email is in your account because I'm going to install Sleep Mapper. You need a Windows-based machine to upload your SD card. if you have a Mac computer, you can see your data, but you can't upload it from your SD card. The uploading function does not yet work on a Mac computer. So if you have a computer, if you have a Windows computer with an SD card slot, or if you have an external SD card reader, and you make sure we have your email address in this database, you can upload your data, you can see your data, and you can make sure we get your data, and we can send that to your doctor, or the doctor also has access.
Now, Eric, let me ask a question about that. I've been using the CPAP mask for over 3 years. In the first couple of years, it was monitored, but I understand that it is no longer monitored, and when I go to the pulmonologist, I take my machine, and then they check it out. It's no longer monitored or needs to be monitored on a daily basis after such a period of time.
Right. So let me go through how that works. First, on Sleep Mapper, there was a question about you uploaded your SD card, but you didn't see the older data. So the way Sleep Mapper works, let's say you started your CPAP therapy on January 1st, and you created your Sleep Mapper account on March 1st. If you put your card into your computer and go to upload it, it will only show you the data from March 1st forward. It will only show you the data from the date that you created the Sleep Mapper account going forward. It will not show you the older data before then that might be on the card.
Are they going to be working on the Macintosh to be formattable?
I'm sorry?
Are they going to be working on a Mac where you could use a Macintosh if you don't have a PC?
I am told that they are. I don't know when that will be out, and I hope they do because I use a Mac as well. So a lot of people are asking for that.
Okay.
So just something to bear in mind. If you do get it working and you do have a Windows, if you need any help, call us. If you want us to set up the account for you, call us or email us. We'll create the account. We'll make sure your email address is in it. We'll give you a temporary password. And then when you log in, you can change the password. So we're happy to help do that. And what that means is, with some of the new insurance requirements that requires insurance every 90 days or once a year, it means we can call you up and say, "Hi, Loretta, would you mind taking out your SD card and uploading your data so we can use it for insurance purposes and get an approval for your next year of supplies," for example. That way you don't have to mail in the card or bring the machine in to the doctors. Many times you can just do it yourself. So I would encourage everyone to go at some point to sleepmapper.com and poke around and see if you think that's something you'd like to do. It's free. We can help you set it up. Just let us know, and we'll be happy to do it for you. Now, in terms of, okay.
So the cards are tiny. How do you put it? How does it read the card on your computer? What in the world do you put it in to read it? I'm on a Mac.
So the cards are standard secure digital cards, SD. It's the same type of card that's used in many digital cameras and other similar devices. Those cards, the newer desktop computers, the newer laptops, pretty much all have an SD card reader built in.
Oh.
If it doesn't, you can buy SD card readers for $5, $6, $7 at Walmart or Radio Shack or Best Buy, and they plug into a USB port in your computer, and you can use that to upload your SD card.
Okay, thank you.
So back to monitoring, yes. For some people they had on their CPAP machines, they had modems which would either connect wirelessly through an AT&T cellular modem, or some of the older ones even had a phone cord that you plugged in. Those modems, those older modems, there are still some people with modems now that are still running. But if it's been more than 6 months or so, most of the modems have been turned off. And since the modems have turned off, we either ask that you mail in your SD card when we ask to get your data, or you have used the Sleep Mapper system that we just described.
Eric, why would you want to monitor your machine?
Yeah. So, very good question. Why would you want to use Sleep Mapper? So Sleep Mapper tells you Sleep Mapper, M as in Mary, A-P-P-E-R, Sleep Mapper.
Thank you.
Again, I'll push a link out in the newsletter again. We've sent a few newsletters about it, but if you've missed them because they get lost in all your other bazillion emails, I understand. But it's Sleep Mapper, all one word. And it will show you how many hours per night you've used the machine. You probably know that already. It will tell you your AHI, which is interesting because, of course, the closer you get to an AHI of 0 means your therapy is taking care of your apnea. So the lower the AHI, the better. It will also give you a sense of mask leak and how long during the night your mask showed excessive leak. Just so you know, all masks are designed to leak. They all have a designed leak rate. The reason all masks have a leak rate is because you don't want a closed system like you're breathing into a paper bag, because then you would just be inhaling your exhaled CO2, and that's not what you want. You want to be breathing in and out fresh air. So what the CPAP machine detects is a leak rate higher than the designed-in leak rate. And if that leak rate is excessive, it will indicate that in Sleep Mapper and in the data that we see.
Eric?
Yes.
How do we know if you're still monitoring our information?
So in terms of monitoring your information, there's 2 reasons to monitor. One is we need to look at it for many of you that have certain insurances. We need to look at your data periodically, specifically for insurance reasons. With many of the new requirements, there's Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, Harvard, and some others. They require that we check your usage every 90 days or once a year and submit that to the insurance company, because most insurance companies now will not continue to pay for supplies or your rental unless we can show your insurance company that you're using the machine a sufficient number of hours on average per night.
What I'm asking is, how do we know if you're monitoring my particular machine? Do I not know? I thought you were. I didn't know that some were not being monitored.
No, unless you have an active modem, there's no way for us to monitor your machine. There's no real-time connection.
Right. So how would I check that the modem was active?
You can call our office and see, and there might be a way on the display to see if it's active. But if it's been greater than 6 months, it's probably no longer active.
Ooh. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And again, call our office and we can tell you exactly whether it's still connected or not. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, or actually ask questions. We have a new supply portal. We've been slowly phasing it in. And this is the system where if you have an email address, we've been sending you a link, or we've called you. You can go online. You can see what you're eligible for. You can call in. It will tell you what resupply items you're eligible for through insurance. Has anyone on the phone used it, tried it? How has that worked? Any input for us?
Yes, this is Willie, and I have tried it, and it has worked great for me.
This is Loretta. I've tried it too once for reorder, and it's worked fine.
Good. So far, so good. This is live TV, folks, so anything can happen. Yes.
Eric, what kind of things would we reorder on that?
Very good question. So many of the parts and pieces that you use, the hose, the mask cushion, the headgear, and the filters should be replaced periodically. Even the water chamber that goes in the humidifier.
Oh.
And I'll give you an example. The mask cushions are probably, well, I don't want to say the most critical because the hose is critical, the filters are important, but the part that touches your face and provides the seal, for me, is one of the most important parts, which is the mask cushion. That cushion is typically made out of silicone, and when Anthony joins us, he can give us a little bit more information about the materials. But for me, even if you keep the cushion clean and you're very diligent about keeping the cushion clean, eventually it has a very microporous surface, and it's almost like a fuzzy silicone surface, and it has that sort of fuzzy, tacky feeling because it wants to stick, sort of stick to your face and provide a good seal. After a while, you get oils that build up in the little pores in between the material of the silicone, and it can sort of lose that tacky feel. So even if the cushion looks clean and looks fine, what we've heard from patients is they keep having to strap their mask a little bit tighter during the weeks or during the months. And that's where you get some marks on your face and issues with the bridge of your nose and skin breakdown as you start to strap that tighter. And a lot of times it's really just the surface of the material is no longer has that new tacky feel. So Anthony can talk more about that, as well as our respiratory therapist will talk a little bit about that when they answer their questions. But we would, always encourage you to change the key components. Someone asked about, how often do I really need to change the hose? If you're keeping it super clean and you know that you can see inside your hose and that there isn't some mold or mildew building up, I'm a New England Yankee here. I'd say keep it and keep using it. If you can't see inside your hose and you're not sure, I would say replace it.
Eric, I'm calling from Cape Cod, and I'm new, and just two quick questions. In fact, a journalist from the Cape Cod Times sent me your information about this chat.
Very nice.
I have a ResMed machine, so would I need to change machines in order to use the sleep mapper?
Yes. So the Sleep Mapper was developed by Respironics, particularly for their machine.
Okay.
I'm not aware of a similar system yet for ResMed. If there's someone on the phone, either from National Sleep Therapy or a patient that knows of it, I'm happy to hear about it. I would suspect they're working on something very similar, or they have something in the works.
And one last question. I'm using a Sleep Weaver mask because I had problems with sores on my nose and breaking of cartilage. So it's very hard to keep that clean if it's like cloth.
Yes, and that's one of the issues with Sleep Weaver is, it seals by inflating. So as you use it, it sort of inflates and seals, which is actually how the harder masks work as well. The cushions inflate a little bit. But yes, it's a challenge to keep that Sleep Weaver clean. So I think thank you for those questions, and thank you for joining us from Cape Cod. I think that's a good segue into having us answer some of your more clinical questions, even with our respiratory therapist. So if we could move into some of those questions, everyone ready for that? And then I think Liz and Jody, if you're on the phone, perhaps we can, we've covered a lot of these already. Let's maybe try to pull out the ones that we haven't covered so we make sure we leave time for Anthony to talk about his Fisher and Paykel mask. Liz and Jody, are you on the line?
Hi. Yes, this is Jody.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Hello,
and
everybody.
How about Liz?
Yes.
Hello,
Hi.
Jody.
This is Liz.
Yes.
So again, I hope that if you have called in, you've spoken to Liz or Jody, you know them already. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. They're super nice. They are so good at what they do, and they always do with a smile on their face. So I encourage you, if you have any clinical questions after this or any time during your therapy, that you should absolutely reach out to them. So let's go to some of the questions that people wrote in. And again, I think this one may have been answered. And the question is, if one is meticulous about cleaning their equipment, how often do you really need to change the tubing, the water compartment, and the nose piece? And Liz or Jody, you want to quickly just recap that?
Sure. So this is Liz, and this is a great question. So if you stick to a daily routine of always remembering to wipe clean the surface that's going to touch your skin all night, so the mask, if you're using nasal pillows, you are going to want to wash those out with soap and water every day. Rinse them out. And you'll always want to empty out your humidifier chamber of any water that was left over from the night before. Rinse that out and let it sit. On a weekly basis, you want to do all your supplies, so warm, soapy water, nothing with bleach or antibacterial. You wash out the tubing. You'll wash out the humidifier chamber, and you'll pull the black filter out. You can wash that out, and while you have that out, it's a good opportunity to check the white filter to see if that is dirty. If that needs replacing, you'll pull it out and then replace the black filter, okay, when that's absolutely dry. So the mask and the humidifier chamber are a daily chore, and then the weekly ones are all the other parts. So that's those are the basics as far as keeping everything clean, and then, of course, replacing those on schedule helps as well.
Liz?
Yes.
I find the chamber a big problem because it doesn't open. I can't get it really, really clean, and it starts to cloud up and get kind of gross looking.
Okay, so you're having some trouble pulling it apart?
I couldn't get it apart, so I called up over your place, and thought they said it didn't open. They ended up ordering me a new one. But I'd like that to look clean all the time, and it doesn't.
Okay. So maybe we can we chat? Can I call you, or can we chat about this?
Sure.
And I can look, and we can work together with this and resolve this?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. Do you have our toll-free number? Do you want to give, we're here Monday through Friday.
Okay.
We'll be happy to help and work with you on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I have the same problem.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have the same problem with my tank. It does not come apart.
Okay. Maybe what we can do is in the follow-up after this session, we'll type up some notes and we'll send them out by email. We'll include some instructions for humidifier cleaning and the chamber cleaning, because that seems to be a common issue.
Sure. With most of the lids do come off, but you might not have gotten that instruction, so we can help you with that.
Yes, most of the chambers should come apart for cleaning, so we'll help you with that. On to the next question, which is, someone writes in, why does the mask make marks on my face? What if I have a cold? Can I use the CPAP machine? Coughing and nasal congestion. So this is a very, very common question, and I don't know if Jody or Liz is going to take a crack at this one.
I'd be happy to help with that. This is Jody. So generally speaking, marks on your face from your CPAP is because you find that you may have to over-tighten it. And that's a very common problem, and it usually stems from the mask leaking at night. And, you know, that keeps you awake, and you resort to pulling the strap tight to get it to stop leaking and create a good seal. And there are some steps that can be taken to prevent that, prevent the over-tightening. And I think we're going to be talking a little bit about mask fit on this call as well. So keeping the mask tight enough to seal, and it's best to do that when you're laying down, to really pay attention to whether the air is leaking out too much when you're laying down, and only tighten the mask just enough to stop the leak, and no more than that. If you try to tighten your mask while you're sitting up at the edge of the bed, oftentimes you'll find that you'll have to pull it too tight, and that's what causes the marks. Also, if you don't change the cushion that Eric discussed earlier, that's one of the downsides of not changing the equipment at the frequency or the schedule that we talk about so much, because the cushion does kind of break down and get floppy and won't seal as well, and so then you find you have to tighten it. So changing the equipment, keeping it clean, and so that helps create a good seal. That way you don't have to over-tighten it. So a well-fitting mask, not too tight, will prevent the marks on the face. As far as having a cold, certainly using your CPAP as tolerated. There are some suggestions. Certainly if you have a nasal mask and you're trying to breathe through your nose when you have a cold, you can discuss with your doctor any medical treatment for the symptoms of the cold, but oftentimes what people may do is think about, at some point in time, getting a full face mask so that they can switch to it for just the duration of the cold. It's perfectly fine to use it generally, unless your doctor has a reason why he wouldn't want you to, or she wouldn't want you to, but and making sure that the humidifier is set so that you're getting plenty of moisture so that any sinus congestion doesn't get really dry and impacted. But generally it's as tolerated with a cold. As far as a nosebleed, I would definitely speak to your physician if that is occurring. Generally, nosebleeds can be caused from over-drying of the nasal mucosa. So again, or the lining of your sinuses, of your nose, making sure you've got plenty of humidity can help that. And if you have an active nosebleed, the answer, is no. I would not be using the CPAP if you have an active nosebleed. And I would certainly follow up with your healthcare provider about that.
Jody, may I ask you a couple of questions?
Yes.
Jody, this is Dick from Maine.
Hi.
Did I understand you correctly that you said do not use any soap with antibacterial?
For the cleaning of the mask?
Or the tube?
Right. It's generally best practice is not to, because it can, number one, it may degrade the material. Secondly, if it isn't rinsed really, really well, you've got to consider that anything that touches or makes contact with that equipment is potentially going to be making contact with your lungs. So, and there's plenty of literature to support that it's not recommended to use antibacterial cleansers for the equipment.
Mm-hmm. The other question I had was, what is a good number to leave my humidifier on, considering the heat, that we need in Maine in our houses? I use, for example, number 73. Is that a good safe number, or should it be more or less?
No. So just to clarify, 73 is a ResMed temperature setting, and we certainly can. I'd be happy to follow up with you, but just so everybody else can hear an answer, it's going to be it's dependent on whatever's going to make you comfortable. So there's no right or wrong answer there, and it can be changed nightly, so to your comfort. But I'd be happy to go over that in more detail with you. for your specific needs. You're welcome.
Jody, this is Eric. If you could elaborate. So one of the questions we get very often is about humidification. And, Dick's question was sort of the tip of the iceberg. And, Dick, thanks for joining again. I really appreciated you on the last call as well. And,
you're welcome.
So humidification, at least on the Respironics machines that personally I am more familiar with, there are different types of settings, sort of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of the older machines have relative humidity or classic mode. Jody, can you just review for people the different types of humidity settings? And we see all the time, I have my humidifier turned all the way up. I wake up, there's still a lot of water in the tank. Why isn't it evaporating? Sometimes the humidifier could be malfunctioning and not heating. Other times it could be the ambient humidity in the room. So I don't know if, Jody, if you can do a quick overview. Would that be interesting for people to understand how that humidifier works?
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. So most of the Respironics machines are designed to have something called System 1 humidification. And what that is their machine has a sensor in the back of the machine that will sense the relative humidity or how moist the room that you have your CPAP machine is in. It takes that information and the setting that you have on your humidifier dial, and I'll go into that a little bit more deeply, and tries to maintain the humidity of the air that you're breathing at around 85%. That would be a goal. So depending on how dry the room is, and we know this time of year, mostly in New England, it's very, very, very dry.
Right.
If your temperature settings on your machine or your humidifier can be set from 0, which is no heat at all, to 5, which is the most heat capable. And what that refers to is how much heat the little heater plate is receiving underneath your water tank. And the higher the number, the more heat to the heater plate, the more heat to the water, the warmer the water is, the more available moisture, like vapor comes. You won't see it. It's invisible, but it moisturizes the water. So this time of year when your rooms are really dry, you have more available moisture if you turn the heat up from 3, maybe 4 to 5. You can change that daily.
Yeah.
If you have your heater setting higher, it's going to use more water.
Yeah.
If you have it a lower setting, it's going to use less water. And that can change. That can fluctuate from day to day. It also, some other things that is dependent is the pressure setting on your machine, how much air is flowing through it, how fast you're breathing through it. There's a number of other smaller factors. But in a nutshell, the higher the number on the temperature setting, the more heat the water will get, the more moisture to you. And it is important to try to maintain that moisture level as much as you can tolerate without getting rain out. Eric mentioned the water. We in New England generally sleep in really cold rooms. The temperature of the air going through the tube is much warmer. What happens when cold air, when the warm air cools down, it rains. So all that condensation in the tubing is because our rooms are so cold and the air cools down along the way through the tubing before it gets to us. And so what we can do to help prevent that is, for those of us that have just non-heated, standard tubing, machines that don't have heated tubing, and I'll talk about that in just a second, we can wrap our tubing in fleece. We have fleece covers that keep the tubing covered up so that the air doesn't cool down, or put it under the covers with us, some way to keep that air in the tubing warm. The newer machines have answered that condensation problem by just developing a tube that plugs into a thermostat on the end of your humidifier, or the tubing and the humidifier make a connection, and the tubing stays warm to keep the air warm. And so you don't get that rain out. That's in a newer model machine. But for those of us who don't have those, you just use standard tubing, get a tubing cozy or a tubing fleece cover, and that we'll tuck it under the covers with you, and so that helps with
what's
the water.
a newer machine? Mine's not quite a year old.
Well, it's a different model, and it has the heated tubing capability. And
how do I know if it has tubing?
You would the end of your tube would look. One end of your tube would be hollow. The other end would have a connection on it, and it plugs into the humidifier chamber. So
Jody,
does that kind of wrap it up?
Yes, I was going to say thank you. If we could, we'll have a little bit of time, if possible, for Q&A, but I want to make sure we give Anthony enough time to present his masks from Fisher & Paykel. Anthony should be on the line. Anthony, you should be there, right?
Yep, I'm here, yep.
Okay, great. So everyone, this is Anthony Agnetta from Fisher & Paykel Healthcare. He's going to talk about maybe one or two of your newer masks and why they're so wonderful. We're having very good luck with them. We're getting good feedback from them. So Anthony, I'll sort of leave it up to you. We're running a little bit behind. I'm happy to keep the line open for as long as we want. If people need to leave at 8, that's fine, but I'm happy to keep it going with everyone else's permission.
Yeah, I think I'll just start by, at least if I can cover one mask. One of the things, since I've been on the line, that I've heard a lot of people have been complaining about, which is a common complaint, soreness on the bridge of the nose from wearing your mask at night. And we've designed 2 masks in particular that actually address that soreness on the bridge of the nose and the technology. The first mask I'll cover actually is our newer full face mask that was launched in December. It's called the Simplus, and that's spelled Simplus, Simplus. And if you did want to take a look at the mask, you could actually go to our website, which is www.fphcare.com. So it stands for Fisher Paykel Healthcare.com. And if you go under the sleep apnea link, you can scroll over to full face masks and see FNP Simplus. And the technology is actually all built in the seal. So one of the things you might know about Fisher & Paykel is we try to make our masks very simple, easy to clean, not a lot of moving parts and pieces, which has historically been our thing. As far as the cushion that I'm referring to and the seal and that addressing that soreness in the bridge of the nose, we have what's called the roll fit seal. So this technology, what it is it's a one-piece cushion. The silicone is actually to a piece of plastic, which clips right into the frame. And inside of the silicone, we actually have an extra piece, so a little bit of a thicker piece of silicone that's built in. And what that does, it actually allows that cushion to roll back and forth on the bridge of the nose. So something to look into as far as, if you're having issues with that. We're having a lot of luck with this new full face mask because of that reason. And then we also have that same technology designed into our nasal mask, which is called the ESON, which can be found on the website as well. If you were to scroll over the ESON mask, it has that roll fit seal. So just a couple things to look out for. Both of these masks have come out within the past year. You might not may be aware of them. But the Simplus mask in particular, that full face, most people that I know of, especially in the Northeast area, use a lot of full face masks. So this mask, it's really broken down into 3 parts. There's our frame, which is low profile. It's clear, so it doesn't block the line of vision. And the frame actually, all the cushions all fit in the same frame as well. They clip right in, which makes it really easy for a lot of patients. The headgear as well, the Velcro is actually sewn into the straps, and it's a breathable headgear. And one thing that's different about it as well is a lot of CPAP masks historically are fit lower on the neck. whereas this one would fit more like a baseball cap, a little higher up in the back of the head. I already mentioned the roll fit seal, and then there's also an air diffuser which blows the air actually up as opposed to blowing at your bed partner, which is another feature that we have incorporated into many of our masks.
That's nice.
So,
for your mask.
Sure.
Can you? I have a very closely cropped beard. It's actually I have a spacer 3 millimeters, so that the hair is not longer than 3 millimeters. Can I use a face mask as an alternative to the nasal pillows, because sometimes they are slightly painful on my nostrils?
Yeah, I mean, nasal pillows are really tougher on a lot of patients with higher pressures. But then at the same time, a lot of people like to use nasal pillows because they're typically more low profile and nothing in the line of vision. So it really would be your preference. But if it's causing pain, that's going to be up to your home care company, obviously, as far as what type of mask they want to fit you with. But if it's causing pain, I mean, certainly you could try a nasal mask or a full face mask as an alternative.
So Anthony, just to follow up, I think the question was more centered around if he has a low crop beard, as many guys do. Hopefully just guys. Will a full face mask work?
Even a long beard, for that matter.
I actually have a beard myself. It's not. It's a clean beard. It's not a thick beard, but I've been able to fit the Simplus mask, for example, at a pressure of 20, sealing up well with my beard, without leaks, without having to over tighten it as well. It really depends on the mask and what works for you as well in your facial profile.
So how would one figure out what type of the mask to use?
That's the question. It's the best way to figure that out is to try different masks. That's really the only way you can do it.
Yeah, Anthony, let me take a stab at that. So one of the things that we have done, and that's the $1 million question, and that's the question we get asked probably more often than anything else. How do I try a mask? There's a couple ways to try a mask, and usually the real question is, how do I try a mask without going broke doing so? Mm-hmm. That's really the big question. That's the elephant in the room. So how we've done this is there are two ways that you can try a mask. The easy way is, it's like going to Target. You want something, you buy it. That's one way. That's not always palatable or possible, we understand. So the way we typically help people is we say, okay, every 3 months your insurance company most likely will allow you to get a resupply. So if the desire to change masks comes close to a resupply event, what we do is instead of, let's say you're on a Quattro and you want to try a Simplus, we say hold on to your Quattro, keep that, don't throw it away, we'll send you a Simplus mask that comes with a cushion and headgear. You try that, and if after a few days or a week you say, you know what, the Simplus isn't for me, you call us back, and we immediately send you out the new cushions for your Quattro.
Got it.
Right? So, the plastic part of the mask is going to be fine.
Right.
So that's the way, using your insurance benefits, you can try a mask with almost zero risk.
Got it. But that's really a discussion with the healthcare provider, and the and you, yeah. So did everyone understand how that works?
Yes.
So Eric, I'm in a lot of pain every night with my full face mask because my pressure's so high. I have to really, really put it tight. So the mask that he's talking about sounds like it might be more comfortable for someone with a high pressure.
I'd love to take a stab at that if you don't mind my jumping in. This is Jody, and I've had the pleasure of fitting a number of folks to the Simplus, and in my experience, it works really well with high pressures. It's very comfortable, easy to seal. So if I could just add that, so far I've seen really good results with it.
A lot of nights I just have to rip the mask off because I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. Which mask are you using now, if you don't mind?
I have the Quattro.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's fine. You know, it's fine on my face. I love it. I love the feel of the ear. But I have to put it so tight. And the instructions come with it and says, if your cheeks are puffing out, it's too tight. Well, my whole face is puffing out. And it's very painful.
I had that trouble with the Quattro.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I have.
I switched to the Forma, and it was better.
I have a full face mask. I like the mask, but not how tight I have to put it.
Right, and I think I can speak for our therapist and for Anthony, which is if you have a mask that is painful to use when in use, it's probably not the right mask, no matter how comfortable it might be when you're first putting it on. So the Forma mask that the other caller just mentioned is also happens to be a Fisher & Paykel full face mask. It takes sort of a different approach. It sits lower on the chin, and the shape is different. So there are different types of shapes of full face masks. So not all full face masks are created equal. So even if you're using a full face mask right now, a Quattro, which is a fantastic mask, if it's not working for you, by all means try a different full face mask.
So I should call so that the next time I'm due, because I get automatic delivery, so I should call so that the next time I'm due that I could try that new one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But don't they make the full face mask in the shape of the face, you know, round, square, or the nose flat, or the nose is longer?
Anthony, would you like to try that one?
Yeah, I mean, really every full face mask is different. One of the, you know, I go around to all the sleep labs. That's actually where I came from before this meeting, and some of them are the cushion actually is a little bit longer as opposed to wider, and people have said ours is
ready to wrap this up there.
People have just said the Simplus mask is not as
yes, but they're talking about.
Yeah, if you're on the call, if I could just remind you to use mute. We're getting a lot of background noise. Thank you.
Yeah, so they're all different. All the cushions and every full face mask is all shaped differently. So, you know, I'm sorry. I'm not sure that answers your question. It's just...
no, it doesn't. Really... I mean, like, if you go to get a haircut, a lot of times the haircut suits the structure of the face. Now, with the full face mask, don't they have masks that fit the structure of the face so that it would fit better?
Oh, absolutely, and they're all faces are different. So one mask, you know, and one mask that might be great for you might be horrible for another person and not work out at all.
So how would you order that then?
Right.
How would you know what to order?
Yeah, it's all about, as we mentioned, it's all about trying different masks to find what's best for you.
So you don't have certain masks for square face, round face. I mean,
that's a great
mask. You know, may still not find what is suitable.
That's a great question. It's all about what happens is when you fit these masks on several different patients, you find out what works best for the different face shapes. We don't go out and say, well, this mask is better for a wider face or a square face. Usually that's up to the person fitting to figure that out. So that's a great question. I'm sorry that there's no clear answer to it, but it's because every face is different.
Right.
Is anyone use mask for face?
Again, sorry?
is anyone using the Sunset full face mask?
I am. I'm using the
I would like to
Sunset.
ask Jody, how does that compare to the SimPlus?
I heard your question, and the key differences between the Sunset and the SimPlus is that the SimPlus has an extended frame, so there is a bit of a support up on the forehead, which raises the straps way away from the peripheral vision. It gets them away from the under part of the eye. And it has, on the headgear, it has an adjustment across the crown of the head. The headgear itself is padded, and as Anthony mentioned, it gets it off the back of the neck and more on the back of the skull. I believe it's much more forgiving in terms of the flexibility of the cushion itself. So less apt to leak, don't have to tighten it. I find that, in a lot of instances, somewhat preferable, but it does depend on the person, and I am going to just toss out there that there are, like Anthony said, there are masks that fit others better than others. Some masks fit a narrower bridge of the nose. Some masks are made for people with a wider bridge of the nose, and that's when going to see a clinician can really help. It's like trying on shoes. So, if you have access to a clinician, certainly I'm here in the Scarborough office, but certainly a clinician can talk to you on the phone, discuss with you a little bit about major facial features, and really are able to match, at least in theory. You won't know till you get it home and try it, but there are ways that we can help match. But
well, if I may real quick, Jody, I would like to say that I know you very well. You've taken great care of me. My name is Willie, and I've seen you quite a few times in Scarborough. So
Hi, Willie. So
hi.
we can take this offline, and if you we can talk more about the SimPlus mask now that we have it in. Yes.
Thank you. I won't take up any more of your time, but I will be in touch. Thank you, Jody.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Willie. So I think this might be a good time, so we don't go too far over, to wrap this up. And again, one of the things that Jody mentioned was masks are very much like trying on shoes. And sneakers. We have Nike, Adidas, and Reebok sneakers. And it's hard to say that which sneaker brand is right for you until you try them. And what we can do is try to make that as financially less painful as possible to try what you need. And I think we've come up with a good solution, which is to let you try a mask during a resupply event and get you those cushions back for your old mask in case the new mask that you try doesn't work out. And the next resupply, you can try another mask. So we're happy to help you do that and help it be as cost-effective as possible. So with that...
do you think that you could mention something about my nose? Because very, very dry. Is there any solution for that? I do have the humidifier turned on, but it still gets extremely dry. And I'm tempted to shove Vaseline up my nose.
No, not Vaseline. Not Vaseline. Nothing petroleum-based. There are water-based gels that you can just moisten the inside of your nostrils with, but not Vaseline. Nothing petroleum-based. Give us a call and we can talk. Give us a call and we can talk.
Could you even put the name of one of them in the newsletter, or whatever you're going to send out,
Jody? Yes, we can.
Eric, we can do that, right, Eric?
Absolutely.
Jody.
Especially now in the wintertime, that's so common. My nose has been dry as anything, and I had to put a humidifier in my room, an extra humidifier, just to moisten the air. And so we can put some of those tips It helps, yes.
Oh, Eric, I could do that.
Eric?
Yes.
This is Dawn, and I'm a pharmacist, and I can let you know that one product that they use and works really well is called Air Nasal Gel. Mm-hmm. It's a water-based, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you tell them how you spell air so they can remember it?
It's A-Y-R.
Okay, nasal gel?
Nasal gel. It'll be in any pharmacy drugstore where they keep the Afrin and the nasal saline and all that.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Try to look for the air that does have the aloe in it. That's a key ingredient that you want to look for.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, for Dawn and our clinicians, I've heard of this gel being used on the nares, on the outside of your nostrils to prevent irritation. Can you also use it just inside the nose as well?
Yes. You just would put it on a Q-tip or just on the inside of your finger, just on the inside. It's not like a nasal spray where you squirt way out, but just on the inside. And as your humidifier works, it will wet it and go.
What would you do for severe mouth dryness?
There's an over-the-counter product that you could look for the mouth, which is called Oral Balance. And Oral Balance is made by a company called Biotene.
Yeah.
And they make toothpaste and mouthwash and mouth sprays
and
that help with dry mouth. And it's sold in the section next to the toothpaste.
Yep.
Okay, and they sell it at all the major, they sell it at Walmart. They sell it at all the major pharmacies.
Biotene or team?
It's spelled Biotene.
T-E-N-E, thank you.
Yeah, and it's called Oral Balance, and it will be sold in a tube just like toothpaste. Mm-hmm. And you just put a dab on a finger, put it on the roof of your mouth, and then you go to bed, and that will dissolve over time, has no funny taste, it just dissolves, and it's safe to use during the day as well. Always keep a nice bottle of water near your bedside table also to help.
I think, Liz, they even have a mouth rinse, and it comes in many forms. Dawn might know better, but yeah, I've used that too, and it works well. Actually, I like the taste of it, so that's even better.
So work as well?
It works, yeah. The Biotene works. The air gel works. The saline gel. Again, as Jody cautioned, not to use petroleum products inside the nose.
Why is that? Is there a particular reason why?
Jody? Is Jody still there?
I was just wondering.
I don't know. Jody, are you on mute, or did you fall off? I guess if she fell off, she can't answer.
I was told once you could use olive oil on your lips, too, if your lips get too dry. Is that right?
Yes.
Olive oil, sure, plus garlic.
Actually, olive oil, I use olive oil just inside my nose sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to, but I do every now and then when it's really bad.
Yeah,
I use it on my hands.
Yeah, I do too.
That's where I use Vaseline.
Uh-oh, you're never going to use that again. Okay, so...
Well, just as long as it's not with electricity.
Exactly.
Is that the problem?
No.
Electric?
What?
Thank you, Mike.
Did Anthony have any more information? Because he kind of got cut off.
No, I'm still here. You have a specific question?
Nope, I just was interested in what you were saying, that's all.
As far as the last thing I heard, was discussing olive oil.
No.
Yeah, no, this is turned into a cooking class.
Yeah, right. That's why I was wondering if Anthony had anything more to say about the product.
Really, that we were just discussing the Simplus, the Roll Fit Seal, address some of that bridge soreness. If you use a nasal mask, there's also the Eton, which is very similar. That same type of cushion. And then the other newer mask that we have as well is called the Polaro Q. So that mask it's a nasal pillow. It's the only mask on the market that offers 2 different headgears, all included in the same package. So
Anthony,
yeah, I don't want to keep this going too long. I understand, Eric.
Yeah, what I was going to say is what we will do is we'll sort of have meeting minutes. We were taking notes. We'll push out a little newsletter as a follow-up. It will include some of the links to the Fisher & Paykel website with some of the masks that Anthony talked about, so you guys can take a look at those masks. And I want to thank Anthony. I know he was meeting with the sleep lab tonight, and he rushed home to make the call. So, Anthony, thank you so much for joining. I want to thank everyone else for joining and taking time out of their busy evening. And if you got value out of this, hopefully you'll tell your friends and family and doctors and other people you know who might have some sleep issues. And we'd love to have them. We like sharing what we know. We're going to have these calls every month. So this is going to be a monthly call. We're going to have different speakers every time with lots of information, and I'm sure something new every time that you can learn. I learned a little bit about air gel tonight, so that was good for us.
So did I.
So, and I'm sure tomorrow morning you're going to have hundreds of people rushing out to CVS and Walgreens and other places.
That's right.
And getting some of the biotin and the air gel, so have at it. And, perhaps in the next call, please, those people that tried it, please call in and let us know how it worked, because I think everyone would be curious.
Could you summarize some of these products in your email?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, unfortunately, some people left early. If you hadn't registered, we're going to do a drawing of the people that were on this call or who had pre-registered. So if you didn't pre-register in those broken links that I sent you, to find the old email, the most recent email from today, click on the link, and in the comment section where you can leave a question, write in the word road trip. And that's your code, and we'll enter you into the drawing for the gift certificate.
But just by registering for the call, we're in that, or do we need to do that again?
If you already registered, there's no reason to go back in.
Okay.
If you happen to call in without pre-registering, just go back, click on that link, and write in road trip as our secret word, that only people that were here heard about it. And we'll enter you for a drawing for a gift card.
Eric?
And yes?
My name's Connie. I'm in Connecticut, and I just wanted to ask a question before we dropped off. On this Responic machine, I have one. It's called the System 1. You were talking about heat. My air flow is always full. I don't have a machine that the water heats up. Is that right?
What I would suggest is, since this is a specific question, I hear people dropping off, I would suggest that you call our office.
All right.
Do you have our number?
Yes, I do.
Okay, give us a call. We'll spend as much time as you need to help you figure that out.
All right.
Yeah, we'll help you figure this out.
Yeah. And Eric, if I could just add, this is Betty. I'm also from Connecticut. When I got the invitation to come on this phone call, I wasn't really sure what I would get out of it, but I thought I'd give it a try, and I love it. It was really interesting and really, you touched on things that are pertinent to what we need and use. So I'm going to definitely spread the word.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Betty, thank you.
Eric.
Thank you. Thank you all for that. I really appreciate it. We work hard to try to, keep you informed and up to date, so I appreciate those nice words, and I promise everyone I didn't pay Betty to come on and say that.
but
I couldn't have asked for better. I don't know if is that Loretta as well?
Loretta's on still, because I was just
Loretta's on.
And this is Nydia still.
Okay.
Eric,
to
give you some feedback, and probably I should call you about this separately. It was about the Transcend machine.
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow. It was on my list of things to talk about today, and we couldn't get there.
That's fine. I'll call you.
It's something that we will talk about in the next call, and Loretta, you and I, and maybe Shay can hook up and just talk about the Transcend, which is a portable unit, and your specific insurance and how we get that covered, et cetera.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
So I want to thank everyone for joining. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your kind words. Every month is going to be something different and new, and I think we'll all learn something together. So thank you again, and keep calling in. And anytime you need anything, you call us, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Good night, Eric.
Good night. Thank you, Jody. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Liz.
Good night. Bye, Liz.
Thanks, Anthony.
Bye, Eric.
Eric?
Yes.
For you.
Eric's still here.
Okay, I'm here. This is Aaron from actually Vermont. Are you still there?
I'm here, yes. Aaron, you said, right?
Yes, from Vermont.
Yes. Hi, Aaron.
It's kind of hard to ask this question in front of people so then it doesn't put them on the spot, but I have a 14-month-old son that kind of is trying to get familiar with his own crib, but he prefers sleeping with me and my wife in the middle of us. Is the air that I'm exhaling, is that harmful for the baby?
Yes, we got your question, and I actually had it on the short list of things to answer. We just ran out of time, so I'm glad you stayed on and asked, because it's probably been nerve-wracking and bothering you, so I'm happy to answer it.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. The way CPAP works is it's basically just a fan. It brings in air from your room, and it blows into your airway. And when you exhale, all it does is it pressurizes your airway so it opens when you're inhaling.
So it's not harmful for the baby?
No, there is nothing that the machine creates or generates. It's room air being blown with some force into your airway to keep it open. And when you exhale, it's the same exhalation and the same CO2 and oxygen and everything that would normally be there.
Perfect. I just wanted
so
to
there's nothing that the machine introduces that would be harmful, or I should say, there's nothing the machine introduces that is different from breathing normally without the machine.
Perfect. Because I've just been so hesitant on asking the question because, unfortunately, I'm only 42 years old and was diagnosed with sleep apnea about 2 years ago, and not thinking anything down the road, but I'm thinking it's like, wow, such a simple question, but just not really sure how to word the question, and kind of wish that more people were here to obviously hear the question, just in case if they have any grandchildren or whatever it is that, might take in their bed.
You know what? I'm going to mark it down. I'll highlight it, and the next time I'll just bring it up and we'll answer it. And we meant to get to it today. I had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions, and yours was number 4, and we only made it through 3. So it's a good question. And again, Aaron, it's one of those things that if you're not sure and you think it might be a dumb question, call us and ask us, because this stuff is so new, and we have plenty of patients your age. We have patients who are as young as 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron, this
Eric.
is Loretta.
Aaron.
Aaron, I stayed on the line because I think no question is stupid, and someone has the same concerns as you do. And what you just asked, I am a grandparent, and I had that in the back of my mind, so I am very glad that you did bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
So don't ever hesitate to bring up a question that somebody else might have that concern and might not think that they want to bring it up either.
Well, I did want to bring it up, but it was just so much details. This is my first time in a convention or conference call listening, and I just don't want to be out of line to say, hey, by the way, I kind of want to address this before people start hanging out or hanging off kind of deal. But at the same time, I just wanted to have a second reassurance that I could sleep well tonight versus not knowing.
Sure.
Still on the back of my mind.
Hey, this is Sean from Maine. I actually hung on the line. I'm 29 years old, so I don't think in terms of age, it runs the full gamut.
I do want to comment. Just watch out for the actual hose itself. I don't know how you sleep specifically, but that hose can kind of move around, and you just want to keep an eye on that. That's my only comment in regards to your job.
Yeah, this is Eric. So is there anyone else on the line, or is it just the four of us? Okay, so Sean, that's a fantastic point, and I wouldn't actually have really thought of that or wanted to emphasize that if it weren't for the fact that I recently helped a mom and her 7-year-old, and the 7-year-old is the one that has sleep apnea. Aaron, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I heard a little beep. So who's on the line? It's Aaron, Sean, and Loretta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with this little group?
Sure. I'm good.
Okay. So I recently helped a pediatric patient. He's 7, speaking with her mom. He has sleep apnea, and he would, they had the CPAP machine up on the nightstand next to his bed, and many times she would go into her son's room, and the hose would be, I don't mean to say tightly, but the hose was wrapped around his neck.
Yeah. I've heard like that before.
Yep. So, I suggested to her that she put the CPAP on the floor. I sent her an image of these bed clips. So there are these clips that go around the hose, and then you can clip it to your bed. And that totally solved the problem.
Yeah, I've seen wall-mounted items. People clip it sort of to the wall to kind of hang it up in a way.
Yep, there's those, but sort of the poor man's version is just a bed clip. You clip it to your bed sheet. So gotcha. I think Sean brings up a great point. If I'm not sure which side the baby sleeps on, or if you toss and turn, or however that works, but there are bed clips. There are putting the machine on the floor. Just something to bear in mind with a baby in the bed. And Sean, thanks for bringing that up.
No problem.
Basically, I sleep on one side of the bed, and my wife and my son sleeps the other facing. So my feet is their head, and vice versa.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Good. So with just a small group on the phone, I really hope that these kinds, it can be a little awkward, it can be a little logistically difficult to have so many people on the phone, but in the end, does it seem like everyone got benefit from this call and would continue to get benefit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't initially intending on calling in, and I just, I figured, maybe I'd give it a try. And honestly, I didn't expect myself to be on at 8:30 at night, and I did. I found it very interesting. I mean, some of the questions and things, I could have done without, but in general, I found it quite engaging, and it kind of got me thinking about trying different masks and what exactly it is my insurance plan is allowing me for benefits, and what kind of options I have there. So I will surely be on next time, and I really appreciate it. It definitely it kind of brought me back into the whole thought behind it. My initial issue was breathing through my mouth, so I think this whole full face mask thing will pretty much alleviate that. So I'll go ahead and call tomorrow. And thanks again.
Exactly. Give us a call and we'll take care of it. I think the best thing that this call can do is if you take away one little nugget that helps you out, and not only that, if it encourages you to call when you have a question, I think it was time well served.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it did.
Yeah, good.
This is Aaron. I just have two minor things. One as a question and one as a suggestion too. The suggestion is, if it's possible, instead of doing once a month, to see if we could do, like, say, the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of the month, because since it's so educational for a lot of people to know, so then we could base more questions.
So with that, again, I want to thank you for calling in and your questions and hanging on an extra half an hour. I appreciate it. I hope you got something out of it.